This is Season 2 of Glory, a Korean drama based on the revenge of a girl named Moon Dong-yoon, who was bullied by her schoolmates for witnessing the murder of a girl, Yoon So-hee. In Part 2, Sun Myong-oh is missing, and no one knows where he is. However, he's at the airport on October 17th. Sun calls all of his past friends who were involved in the bullying of Moon. He first calls Sarah and tells her that he knows she was there when So-hee died. Then he calls Mr. Jae-jun and tells him that he has a recording of his embezzlement and demands crypto to keep quiet. He asks him to remember the day So-hee died. Now Sun is in a lift wearing multiple coats. He calls Hae-jong and asks her why she went to school the day So-hee died. Sun also calls Moon Dong-yoon and tells her that he called everyone, but no one is ready to meet him. Moon asks if he called Yeon-jin, and he replies that he tried many times but got no response, so he left a message for her. In the Eden apartments, Yeon-jin is in Moon's room, looking at all the photos, when her husband arrives and asks why she's there. He asks her why she's the only main character here. There's a camera in the room, and Moon is playing Go and watching the recording in another apartment. Yeon-jin's husband asks for the true story, but Yeon-jin denies all the facts and leaves the apartment. He then looks at all the photos, and one of them catches his attention. Yeon-jin is in the photo with his daughter. Mr. Ju is searching for the body of So-hee, but fails to find it. A senior doctor tells him that their records say she's in the morgue, but her body is actually in the freezer. Mr. Ju asks why, and the doctor replies that the orders came from the late director, who is Mr. Ju's father. Moon is in Mr. Ju's home, where she notices a photo of Mr. Ju with his parents. The police come to Mr. Jae-jun for an investigation into Sun's disappearance, as he was Sun's driver. The inspector asks if he met anyone around that time, and Mr. Jae-jun tells him that Ha Do-young, the owner of Jaepyeong Group, came looking for Sun and even gave him his business card. Moon went to meet Yeon-jin at the TV station, but another girl was also present. When she saw Moon, she was shocked to see the marks of old wounds on her wrist. Moon told Yeon-jin to turn herself into the police and confess everything she did to cover up the crime she committed. Moon warned Yeon-jin that if she didn't turn herself in, her punishment for Moon would be much harsher. Yeon-jin refused to go to the police, but Moon said that their meeting had erased all of her guilt and that this was Yeon-jin's last chance. Yeon-jin's husband became suspicious of his daughter, and his secretary gave him a USB that Sun Myong-oh had given her. The USB contained a recording that said, "I have information on the guy that has been fucking your boss's wife. So tell your boss if he doesn't want to see this guy's name plastered all over the internet." Mr. Ju was interested in Moon and did everything to make her happy. All of the bullies were gathered in one place, and Yeon-jin told Sarah that it was now a drug investigation instead of a missing person. Sarah threatened to beat Hae-jong because she had called the cops. Yeon-jin showed Sarah evidence from when they bullied her in high school, and they all revealed that Sun Myong-oh had called them and asked about So-hee's death. Now he's missing, and Sarah accused Yeon-jin of doing something to So-hee. A strange girl dropped a letter in the complaint box of the detective in charge of So-hee's case. Mr. Ju went to his mother and told her that he wanted to help his friend Moon in her revenge. So-hee's mother met with Moon and asked her to read a report that no one else would listen to. Mr. Ju obtained the autopsy report for So-hee, which revealed that she was 8 weeks pregnant. As Moon was collecting all the photos in a box, she realized that Hee-nam's husband's photo was missing. When Hee-nam was parking her car, Yeon-jin approached her and showed her husband's photo, demanding that she come out of the car. Yeon-jin's husband, Mr. Ha, went to Mr. Jae-jun's store where Yeon-jin used to buy clothes and asked, "I want to go to the fitting room." When he entered the room, he noticed something there. Yeon-jin said to Hee-nam, "You get beaten up all the time by your husband." Hee-nam asked, "How did you even find me?" She replied, "I found you because you were driving Moon's car. I know you want to kill your husband. I know everything about your daughter. Help me. I can have him killed faster than Moon Dong-yoon ever could. But you have to do whatever I tell you." Hee-nam, with her daughter Sana, was going somewhere in a hurry. Hee-nam told her daughter, "We will come back to Semyong tomorrow or the day after." Hee-nam's daughter looked very happy and was enjoying the music. Mr. Jae-jun was going to set a room for his daughter Ha Ye-sol, as he wants to get back his daughter. Moon Dong-yoon's mother came to her school. She was drunk. Moon Dong-yoon took her mother to her apartment. Yeon-jin went to Moon Dong-yoon's mother and asked, "Could you please get Moon Dong-yoon fired from her school for me?" I will give you more than Moon Dong-yoon could ever have. Hae-jung was getting her beauty treatment from Mr. Ju, who was a doctor. Here, Yeon-jin comes to meet her. Here, Hae-jung tells Yeon-jin that Moon and your husband have been playing Go. At that moment, Hae-jung's bag dropped to the ground by a nurse. Yeon-jin noticed her bag as it was very expensive. Hae-jung told her, your husband gave it to me as a present. I should have told him everything about you. Hae-jung left her procedure and went. He-nam came to meet Moon and told her, Yeon-jin did find me. She said to Moon, please take care of my son Ah, and everything we have done so far will be useless if she meets my husband. Now I work for Yeon-jin. Moon handed over Sun Ah to her old teacher. Sun Ah was afraid of her dad as he said he would kill her grandma and aunt if her mom and she ever tried to run away. But Moon relaxed her by saying, that will never happen, trust me. Yeon-jin asked her husband, why did you meet Hae-jung? But he asked Yeon-jin about Sara, Jae-jun, and Sun Myung-oh. He also asked about her mother, Shaman. Yeon-jin replied, you were really going to take their side? He replied, if I'm taking sides, it will be Yesel. You don't have any guilt. Jae-jun goes to his store, where his worker told him about Yeon-jin's husband. He tried on a shirt and then left. A doctor told Mr. Ju that a man named Sun Myung-oh had come to the morgue. Mr. Ju relayed this information to the inspector. Yeon-jin went to Mr. Ju for her beauty treatment. He advised her to get fillers. She replied, I did not know fillers could be romantic. Yeon-jin's husband, Mr. Ha, met Moon in an elevator for privacy. A nurse prepared an injection for Yeon-jin's surgery. She told her, after the injection, you will fall asleep. Before the surgery, Mr. Ju prepared an injection for her and said, if there's still air in this before I administer it, you could die right here and now. Yeon-jin was not in her senses. Mr. Ju asked about Sun Myung-oh. What did you do to him? Yeon-jin confessed everything about Sun Myung-oh, how she killed him because he had proof that she killed So-hee. When Yeon-jin woke up and found herself in the clinic in front of Mr. Ju, she was greatly disturbed. At Mr. Jae-jun's shop, Yeon-jin killed Sun Myung-oh and removed all evidence with the help of a corrupt police officer named Shin. He threw Sun Myung-oh's mobile in the water. This is a scene from the past. When Yeon-jin wakes up, she finds herself in Mr. Ju's hospital. Mr. Ju recorded her conversation during her sleep and will use it as evidence. Moon is with Mr. Ha. He tells her, I have many questions in my mind. When he sees the scars on Moon's body, he's shocked. She asks, did you look for Sun Myung-oh? I even sent you a picture. Moon wants him to leave Yeon-jin, but he's not ready to do so. Mr. Ju is busy cooking food for Moon. When she wakes up, he tells her about Yeon-jin and her procedure. Ju wants to remove her scars, but she's not ready for treatment yet. While at school, Moon notices a male teacher taking photos of young female students inappropriately. Yesel is looking at colorful photos of apples on her laptop, but as she is colorblind, she becomes angry and throws her laptop into a water tub. Moon sends Sun Ah to the USA, where she stays with Laura Wilson's family for a homestay. Hae-jung gets Sun Myung-oh's tablet, which has a recording of when Yeon-jin killed him. The date was October 19th. However, she cannot understand what is on the recording. Yeon-jin removed the CCTV recording from Mr. Jae-jun's shop computer when she killed Sun Myung-oh. Now Mr. Jae-jun wants to restore it and gets the help of a computer expert. Sun Ah has a flight tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Her mother is going to see her off when Yeon-jin comes to her house and asks for Sun Ah. He-nam doesn't want to tell her about her daughter, but Yeon-jin replies, my friend Hae-jung is a flight attendant. I can find your daughter. He-nam starts begging and says, I will do whatever you tell me to do. Yeon-jin asks her if Moon has another little helper and who that would be. He-nam replies that there's also a man, but she doesn't know about him. Yeon-jin also tells her, I've been giving your husband some money to gamble. An Inspector Shin comes to Yeon-jin's mother, Shaman, and tells her that Mr. Ju has been sniffing around about So-hee. She tells him that they kept her body in the freezer for 18 years. He asks if that's illegal. The Inspector Shin went to the law office and asked a lawyer, I want to know what the law says about the hospital not handing over the dead body to the family and instead freezing it. Is it illegal or not? Sun Ah was waiting for her mother at the airport, but she was beaten by her husband at home, so she couldn't come to see her off. When her husband checked her bag, he found a lot of money and asked, where did you get this money? She told him, "I sent a text to someone with my phone." He asked, "Where's your phone? Show me the text." Shimon received a text from He-Nam's husband that said, "I know your daughter killed somebody." Mr. Ju wants to buy a funeral home because the inspector kept the dead body of Sun Myung-oh there, so he finalized his deal with the owner. Mr. Ju went to visit the funeral home with Moon. Inspector Shin is playing a game with his friend. He-Nam told Moon that she was following Inspector Shin one day and saw him go to the funeral house, which had been out of business for 3 years. Then they both went to the funeral house and noticed that the meter of this house is still working. The next day, Moon goes to Mr. Ju and tells him this information. She has doubts that Inspector Shin might have bought someone off for it. The next morning, Moon, Mr. Ju, and a real estate officer go to visit the funeral house because Mr. Ju is now the owner of it. When they entered, they saw the dead body of Sun Myung-oh, which was preserved. Mr. Ju told Moon that when Yeonjin was in the hospital for treatment, he got a skin sample from her because he wants to prove something. He-Nam told Yeonjin about Mr. Ju, and she was shocked to hear this. Yeonjin's mother is continuously receiving threatening messages from He-Nam's husband. She goes to Inspector Shin to report against He-Nam's husband, but he refuses to do anything. Jae-jun received a delivery from Moon, who sent him a USB stick. The USB stick contains photos of his daughter Yesol at school, which were taken by a male school teacher named Chu Jong-ho. Jae-jun goes to the school to confront Chu Jong-ho and hits him with his camera. His daughter sees him beating the teacher. After this, Yesol calls her dad and tells him that Uncle Jae-jun came to school and did it. Moon gets drugs from some man. The police come to the school and arrest Jae-jun. While the police are investigating him, Mr. Ha also arrives. Jae-jun tells him that Yesol is his daughter. Mr. Ha starts beating him. Now the scene is of a hospital 18 years ago. So-hee's mother is begging the doctor to keep the dead body of her daughter in the freezer until she finds her killer, but the doctor refuses to do that. Then the head of the hospital arrives and accepts her request. He asks his staff to keep the dead body in the freezer. The head was Mr. Ju's father, who was a kind man. Now Mr. Ju's mother is the head of the hospital. She has been informed that there was a civil complaint. The police officer asked to move the body back to the morgue, but she refused and said that if there has been a crime here, they will accept punishment. Until then, the body stays in the freezer. When Yeonjin reaches home, she asks her husband why he sent Yesol to his mother's. He's angry and tells her that his wife's lover went to their daughter's school claiming to be her father, and she has no way to escape. Now Moon is at her school when some students' mothers come. They all want to fire her as she got this job through illegal means. This is all because of Moon's mother, who did this only for money. It's raining heavily when Moon goes to her mother and asks, "Was that the last thing you had to do to me? You're my mother. How could you do this again?" Her mother is busy unpacking the presents she received from Yeonjin's mother. Moon starts to cut the presents with scissors, and her mother hits her. Moon goes outside, sits in her car, and cries. Jae-jun comes to her and asks her to come out, but suddenly Mr. Ju comes and hits him with his car. Ju reaches him and says, "Sorry, I just recently got this car. I'm still adjusting to it. Did you get hurt?" At that moment, Moon goes and escapes from Jae-jun this way. Now Moon is at Mr. Ju's house, where there's a tent. She sits under that tent, and Ju is there to look after her. Moon supplies drugs to Sarah as part of her revenge. When Sarah takes the drugs, many media reporters come to her and take photographs, which are published in the newspaper. The police arrest Sarah. Moon also exposes Yeonjin, the weather forecaster, for school violence. Moon took the help of her friend to do all this. Moon tells her friend, "Sarah might get out of this, but you definitely won't, as you are a murderer." The report about Yeonjin, the weather forecaster, spread all around, and everyone is discussing it. Sarah is busy packing and she wants to escape, but the police came and arrested her. Yeonjin and her husband are going to his office, and he called his lawyers because he wants to handle what is urgent. Now they are in front of lawyers in the office, and they're asking many questions to Yeonjin, but she's not ready to cooperate. Moon met a lady who was also bullied by Yeonjin when she was in school. Moon told her that they both know who did that to So-hee. Moon said that she would take care of everything, and the lady doesn't need to do anything. Ju went to Mr. Ha, who was playing a game of Go. Ju told him that Moon learned from him how to play Go. Mr. Ha asked Ju about the relation between him and Moon. He replied that he cares for her and is helping her in her revenge. Yeonjin's mother got all the data about Hee-nam's husband. He texted her daughter that he killed 2 people, not 1. Hee-nam told Yeonjin that Haejong is with Jae-jun. Yeonjin goes to a shop to meet with Haejong and asks her why she is with Jae-jun. She replied that now Jae-jun knows everything about Yeonjin, so he's not interested in her anymore. Mr. Ju went to meet a man in prison who's a rapist and killed Ju's father. Ju asked him why he killed his father and the man who saved his life. Ju told him that he would come again and teach him a lesson. The caretaker informed Inspector Shin that Mr. Ju bought the funeral house. A detective came to Yeonjin and asked her where she was on the night of October 19th. Yeonjin went to Inspector Shin and asked him to stop the investigation, but he told her that he couldn't do anything as he's retiring and moving somewhere warm. Sun Myung-o's body was found at a certain location, and someone informed the police. When the police arrived, they started investigating. Now, Mr. Shin and Yeonjin went to see Sun Myung-o's dead body at the funeral house, but it was not there. Both were worried, but Yeonjin received a call from Haejong, who told her that she got a call from Sun Myung-o's aunt, and that his body was found last night. Haejong warned Yeonjin that she didn't even know what was coming for her. The inspector wanted to sell his motel, so he went to collect his money from his drawer. 2 men came, and he gave them their payment. When he left, one of the men noticed his drawer. When Ju went to Moon's home, he found it in bad condition. When he checked her camera, he found that their mother had caused the mess. Now, Moon and her mother are with a doctor as she wants to treat her mother. She admitted her mother to the hospital. So-hee's mother released a statement claiming that Yeonjin had bullied her daughter and killed her. Mr. Ha read this statement and was shocked. Moon gave Mr. Ha So-hee's mother's address and told him that the dead body of So-hee was in Ju's hospital. Sarah's parents did everything they could to end the case on Sarah, and she was released from police custody. Yeonjin went to Jae-jun and asked him to save her, as he was her only hope. He asked her to tell the truth, and she said that it was an accident and she thought she had taken care of it. There was a doctor helping her. Yeonjin begged Jae-jun to help her for the sake of their daughter, and he agreed. Yeonjin's husband went to Jae-jun, who gave him a voice recording on Sun Myung-o's phone from October 10th. Jae-jun also told him that there was an expensive bottle of liquor there, and now it's gone. He asked him to either divorce Yeonjin or report it to the police. The choice was his. Hee-nam's husband received a call from a lady on behalf of Yeonjin's mother, asking him to go to a specific address. He arrived at the location, but had an accident while crossing the road, involving a car driven by Yeonjin's mother, with Inspector Shin present at the scene. Tragically, Hee-nam's husband did not survive the accident. Yeonjin's mother and Inspector Shin both went to the police station to report the incident, stating that it was raining heavily and a man appeared out of nowhere. In the past, Yeonjin had killed So-hee because she was wearing the same dress that Yeonjin owned. Yeonjin had asked So-hee to take off her dress while they were on the roof of a building. So-hee refused, which made Yeonjin angry. Yeonjin, who was a smoker, then set So-hee's clothes on fire and threw her from the roof. Moon witnessed the murder as she was present at the scene, and saw So-hee falling. She was witness of this murder. Moon found the name tag of Yeonjin there. When Yeonjin went to a lady to know about her future, the lady started dancing and said, "I am So-hee. You killed me. Do you remember what happened on that roof? That was when your name tag went missing, right? Then I suddenly fell and died." All this mess made Yeonjin very afraid. Hee-nam went to Yeonjin. Yeonjin said to her, "You had to drag my mother into your husband's murder." Hee-nam slapped her and said, "I have a lot of pictures you don't want other people to see, so don't try to mess with me." After this, Hee-nam left. Yeonjin's husband was also there watching her on the stairs. He said to her, "You have 2 choices. This is the address of So-hee's mother. Either go there and accept your punishment, or our marriage ends here." She said, "Our marriage was over the moment you met with Moon." She refused to do anything, so he decided to divorce her. Yeonjin's mother came to Hee-nam for a settlement, but she refused to do so. Now Yeonjin's mother is returning home. When she is on the road, Moon stopped her and said, "I have proof that you murdered Hee-nam's husband. It was not an accident. Now, will you become a murderer, or will you turn over the name tag?" Moon gave her a number and said, "When you decide, just call me." The next morning, when Yeonjin came to her office, everyone was talking about her. Her boss asked her what she did, so she decided to resign from her job. Yeonjin's daughter Yesol also knows all about her mother. She asked, "Why did you do all this? I am not proud of you, mommy." Yeonjin held a press conference. She said in the conference, "So-hee killed herself as she was pregnant. I did not kill her." After this, she went to Sun's funeral. All the bullies were there at Sun's funeral. Sara and Haejong started fighting, and when Yeonjin came, Sara also started beating her. But when Sara came to know that her sex video was being viralized by Haejong, she attacked Haejong with her pencil. Here, police came and arrested Sara. He and Nam returned Moon's camera, and Moon gave her an envelope and asked her to give it to the school nurse. This is her last task. Moon thanked her and asked her to live in a world where she doesn't have to be her accomplice. She is free now. Jae-jun went to the hospital to see Haejong. The doctors told him that she was not able to speak as her vocal cords were seriously injured. Jae-jun decided to leave her as he had no interest in her anymore. This was a great shock for her. Mr. Ju inserted a skin sample from Yeonjin into the nail of Sun Myung-oh while Moon watched. She was a brave lady. The detective officer was brushing his teeth when his junior came to him and said that the DNA results from under Sun Myung-oh's fingernails were in. The DNA from the lighter matched the DNA under Sun Myung-oh's fingernails. He told his junior to get DNA samples from everyone as soon as possible. Mr. Ju went to meet the rapist who killed his father again and asked him why he killed his father. The rapist replied that everyone there had refused to operate on his broken arm, and the pain was so intense that he thought he would die. He was bleeding badly, but no one would come anywhere near him. When Mr. Ju's father stepped in and was ready to treat him, Mr. Ju's father asked his staff to tell his son not to eat ramen and to go home. During the operation, the rapist woke up in the middle of it, and one of his arms was free. He saw a scalpel nearby and hit Mr. Ju's father with it. He thought that if Mr. Ju's father were to die, Mr. Ju would be the reason for his father's murder. Yeonjin's mother gave the name tag to Moon, and at that moment, Yeonjin entered. Moon told Yeonjin to come over and said that her mother had chosen to give her up to save herself. Moon returned the name tag to Yeonjin and said that it could not be used as evidence because it was not found on the night So-hee died. The name tag was found much later. Yeonjin started crying. So-hee's mother was admitted to the hospital. Moon went to visit her and found out that Ju was named as the guardian. She was shocked. Suddenly, Ju arrived, and Moon asked him if he knew everything before they met. Ju told her that he saw her student ID that day when he wrote her prescription. So when she bolted out of the ER, he decided to follow her. And when he heard her story, he knew he was the perfect person to be her executioner. She asked for his help till the end, and he was ready to help her till the end. Moon went to the hospital and asked Haejong if she wanted to get revenge on Jae-jun. Moon had a plan, and Haejong was ready to act on the plan for revenge. Moon gave her a hand sanitizer to put in Jae-jun's eye drops. When she was free from the hospital, she went to Jae-jun's house and asked to pack her clothes. Jae-jun said she had 10 minutes to pack her things. While packing, she dropped the hand sanitizer in his eye drops. After this, he wouldn't be able to see anymore. Inspector Shin was killed by his men. Now Yeonjin was alone, sitting somewhere when she received a video from Moon. The video was about the bottle of wine that was put at Jae-jun's shop. When she went there to get the bottle, the police were there to arrest her. Jae-jun was going somewhere in search of his daughter. As it was night, he put eye drops in his eyes while driving, and his eyes started burning. His car stopped in the middle of the road when a truck came and hit his car. The detective told Moon that he knew she was behind the game. Now that the investigation was over, he wouldn't have time to focus on this case anymore. Mr. Ha came to meet Yeonjin in the police station with his lawyer. The lawyer gave her the papers for the divorce settlement. She signed the papers. Yeonjin's husband was going to the UK with Yesol. Yeonjin requested him to give her the letter, but he refused and left. He and Nam gave the keys to Moon's car to Moon's friend. Moon was going to the ocean with Mr. Ju. He was very happy with Moon, and they spent a very good time together. They enjoyed beer. When he went to the shop to buy more beer, he received a call from Moon, and she told him it ends here. After this, Moon went to the police station to meet Yeonjin. Moon told her that's what she wanted, to see her alone. Now she was alone, but still, Yeonjin had no regrets. She was the same as she was, and there was no change in her. Now Moon has lit all the photos on fire as her revenge is over. She goes to the edge of the roof and wants to commit suicide, but at that moment, Mr. Ju's mother comes and stops her from doing so. Mr. Ju's mother tells her, "So he's mother told me about you and what happened to you. Do you allow me to save your life? I am asking you to help my son escape this hell, as his hell refers to 3724, the prison number of the rapist. The court has sentenced Mr. Ju's father's killer to death." Now, 6 months later, it is the summer of 2023, and Ju is playing a game of Go alone. Yeonjin and her mother are both in jail, and Yeonjin is in a very bad mental condition, not in her senses. After 6 months, Moon goes to meet Ju at his home. He says to her, "You are so cruel. Why did you leave me?" Moon admits that she loves him, and soon they start kissing. Now, Eden Apartments Room 301 is available for rent as Moon is living with Ju. Moon and Ju are busy cooking, and they talk about Jae-jun. Now, Jae-jun is blind because a truck hit his car and he was injured. At night, he wanders around, and an unknown man throws him in mud water, and he dies. Now, Mr. Ha is with his daughter Yesel, and they are in a very happy mood. He and Am is working in a shop, and now she is happy. Both Moon and Ju admit that they love each other. This is the end of the drama. Please subscribe to our channel and also press the bell icon to get notifications of new videos. And don't forget to like our videos. If there's a movie or series you'd like us to cover in the future, let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching our videos.